And one. All right, what's going on, guys? It's Ryan, AKA's back again, episode 2 of the two-part series. So super excited about episode 2 because we're gonna dive deep into being, or Gonzo being in a Ranger Regiment. We're gonna touch on Ranger School, and then of course we're gonna cap it off with why he wants to become a helicopter pilot. Now, if you didn't watch episode 1, please watch it, especially for the guys that were interested in going to SFAS, Special Forces Assessment Selection. And although, like we alluded to in episode 1, things are constantly changing, but I think what you can get from what Gonzo was saying is how peak physical condition you need to be in, just due to the heavy lifting, the rucking, just all those different things. That's what you're going to get. And of course, we did touch on other stuff that definitely want to check out as well in regards to Gonzo's story. But nonetheless, the link will be below. So without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and get to some more gems. So welcome back, Gonzo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So flashing back to episode 1, when you completed SFAS, but you didn't get selected, unfortunately. And fast forwarding to after that, now you're in the midst of waiting for where you're going to go next. What unit? Are you going to go to Ranger School? Are you going to go to RASP to go into Ranger Regiment? So let's start with how you even got the chance to attend RASP.
So after I was a non-select, 21-day non-select is what they call them. I basically got orders to go to, I forget his AT, out of training, or it's a whole group of people that try to go to selection, and for the people that don't get selected, they're you know basically needs of the army at that point. So they go to a holding area where they're waiting to get their next orders to go, become needs of the army. Whatever the army needs, they'll pick us and give us an MOS that they need, and we'll go over to that unit. But it was me and a couple other group of guys that wasn't in the holding area with me, and for the most part, nobody wanted to just do some bullshit MOS. I actually got picked to do a microwave specialist, which I'm not saying it's a bad MOS, but I know that my capability was, I could accomplish more. I could do something more. I wouldn't be useful in some sort of you know I don't know, like military intelligence. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's a great MOS, but for me, being physically fit and motivated, I feel like I could accomplish more. But yeah, they gave me, I forget what the MOS is called, but for the fact it is microwave specialist. And then I remember using the open door policy for my first sergeant. I went to talk to him, and I asked him, hey, I really don't want to do this MOS. I'm trying to, if I could either go to range school or get a RAS packet. I don't care if I stay here another month or two. I just don't want to do whatever MOS they gave me. And I remember I was at Camel Call. We had a cleaning detail, which is kind of bullshit. It's kind of the bullshit work that they make you do while you're in the holding area. And while I was over there, I was pretty much, my cleaning detail was cleaning the gym at Camp McCall. So you'll see a bunch of the Green Berets out there. They're training. It looks pretty badass because they're training. When they're training as a team. So, you see a bunch of the guys together. They're making their own like team week event workout. So they're out there with the rugs. They're out there with their you know weights and all this stuff, and they're basically doing the same thing that they used to do in selection. So I got the call saying that, hey, Gonzo, are you still interested in going to RASP? And I was like, absolutely, fuck yeah. So the rest is history. After that, I immediately went back, got all my stuff ready, and we drove all the way to Fort Benning so I could prepare myself for the next process, which is, selection or RASP. And that was so I was in on select January. It was about to be February. So April was when selection started, or RASP started. So I only had like a couple months to prepare myself. And I remember after SFAS, I think I already talked to you about it. I was like really, really light. I was 135. From coming in, I went into SFAS at 160, 155, 160. Ended with 135 pounds. So I was very skinny, very, I felt like I was pretty weak, but I was able to, recover within the next 2 months, which was like super. I mean, it's not difficult to gain all the weight back, but it's difficult to gain the weight back with muscle. So it was something that I had to be careful about. Watching what I eat. Also making sure I don't work out too hard because I don't want to fuck up my legs even more, if that makes sense. So yeah, I got to Fort Benning. Try to prepare myself because from winter going into summer, and especially in Georgia for the people that haven't gone to Georgia, it's very humid. So I try to like acclimate to the weather, running, 5 miles every other day, doing push-ups, preparing myself for just RAS in general.
Yeah. Um, that's pretty I think it was pretty ballsy, for you to go up, take initiative, go to first sergeant and be like, hey man, like this is what I want. And especially after going through a selection like that, and although you didn't get selected, you made it through, which is an accomplishment within itself. It would suck, just alluding back when I won't give too much, because like I said, I encourage people to watch episode one, but
Yeah.
just in regards to the weather condition, and you had that moment where you're like, man, like everybody else is not training, but we're training. This is like super hardcore. This is like the
Oh no,
the
it
people I
was it
want to be
was
with.
it's definitely pretty cool. A lot of the guys that I met in SFAS, they were good people. They were very fit. They were preparing themselves for some of them for years just to, be able to get the chance to go to selection. I was just able to get the chance right off the street. Is what they call it, which is the 18 extra contract. I kind of went in, and I already told you on the last episode that I went in with the knowing that I might not get selected, knowing that I'm 20 years old, I have no experience, no nothing, not even a college degree, nothing. So I went in knowing that I'm gonna give it my best no matter what, and if I don't get selected, that's all right. I pretty much just wanted the experience, but if I did get selected, I mean, fuck yeah, that's badass. But I went in there knowing that might not get selected, and that's okay. But overall, after that, a lot of the people that I was with SFAS, like during team week, um, like the people that I got to meet, they all like me personally. They didn't think I was a shitbag. I mean, for the people that are shitbags, a lot of people don't really like them or talk to them. But I was able to like meet a lot of cool people that kind of pushed me into like, hey, you should go to RASP. You're still, I like the way we work together. I feel like you could definitely, you know, I could definitely they could see me in the position, into going into the special operations route. So they told me, yeah, just go to RASP if you can, and get some experience there. Go to Ranger school if you can, and then after the 2 years, because they gave me I had like 2 years in order to be able to come back to SFAS. But yeah, so they told me, yeah, go to RASP, go to Ranger school, and then come back. But once I was there, I didn't really want to leave Regiment. I think Regiment was probably the best place for me at the moment.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things too that I really love about I've always loved about special operations. And every time I see a special operator, I always admire them because it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what you look like. And there's always this conception that special operation guys are big, tall, jacked. And then you look at someone, and I'm not discrediting you, of course, but you look at someone like you, and you're easily gonna have that thought of what the heck, like he doesn't look like he's fit to do it, and it's all
Oh
about
yeah.
heart. And that's what I once again alluding to. That's why I love special operations, man, because it's about heart, and uh that's the same thing you take in life. It's all about heart, regardless if you're not the smartest, the fastest, whatever the case may be. If you have heart, determination, and grit, you could definitely accomplish the goals you want to accomplish, and that'll beat your competition, most definitely. But what was the check-in process for pre-RAS? Now that you went through all that stuff, they afforded you opportunity to go to RAS. What's the check-in process like for that?
So for me, it was a little bit different. For the guys that have option 40 contracts, so the people that join the military, coming in like going through basic training, going through. I don't know if they changed it. So for when I was going through, I know that the guys they go to basic training, and immediately they go to airborne school right after basic training. And after that, after airborne graduation, they immediately basically run them all the way to RASP, which is not that far away. I think it's like maybe a little less than a mile away from the airborne school. So they actually, you put some of your bags, not all of them, but some of your bags or belongings in a box truck, and then you have the cadre there, the RASP cadre, and they'll run you all the way to fucking all the way to like the pre-RASP barracks, which is another shit show of its own, because you're definitely gonna get you're gonna get smoked a lot. And I think you get smoked the most when the first people come in. So as soon as you get there, you're probably getting smoked from whenever your graduation starts or whenever it ends, all the way till later in the afternoon, probably like around 6 in the afternoon, maybe even later. I don't know, but I remember seeing those guys getting smoked. Like, they'll be on formation, not knowing what's gonna happen next, and then the cadre will come out and immediately, hey, start doing push-ups, start, bar crawling, start hitting the ropes. And what hitting the ropes means is literally just going to the first set of ropes that they could find, and climbing the rope all the way to the top and then coming back down. So it's a lot of physical stuff for the most part, and it's basically just to weave out the weak, or the people that really don't want to be there. um, but for me, going in there, it was mostly like we had priority into, you know, like the next class that's going to start RASP is the class that we were going to be going into. But for the guys that are um, freshly out of airborne school, those guys, they need to go through another process of, they have to pass a PT test, and they have to like score I think they have to be like there's like the whole entire pre-RASP class, or the what, those guys are waiting to go to the next slot or next class. I think you have like around 300, maybe even more people, 400 people, maybe like around 300, 400 people waiting to go to the next class, and I think they only select like 150. So you have to like be, really good physically at running, especially push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups. You have to score pretty good in order to go to the next slot. If not, you're gonna be waiting there another month, or who knows. Some people have been waiting there for like 2, 3 months. So it's kind of shitty for some of those guys waiting for that long. Trying to go into that next slot.
Yeah, to answer your question from the beginning, it is different. Now the pipeline switch where before you could go to airborne, then you go to RAS, but a lot of people were using
Yes,
that as an outlet to get the airborne, and then they would be like they
exactly.
would drop it immediately. So they're like, nah, we're not letting that happen anymore. That's opportunity someone could have had, and you just wasted it just because you wanted to go to airborne school. So yes, that did change. And whenever you did the ropes, I believe you called it the way you said it. What kind of technique did you use? Did you use
The
the
J
J
hook
hook?
plan. Yeah, so that there's other techniques, but J hook overall was probably the easiest. At least for me, it was. For people that aren't really good at climbing rope, there's other techniques that are probably better. I forget what they're called. J hook, and then there's one that you wrap around your leg, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but and I really forget the name of it. But yes, that did change. Now I think from basic training, they're going straight into RASP, and once you get selected, um, then you could go to airborne school. But I don't know if it's changed back. I don't know if it's stayed the same. I have no idea. I
No,
haven't
I
talked to
think it
anybody.
stayed. I think it stayed the same because I had a boy in my class. Shout out and rest in peace, William Borgerson. He made it through RAS, and then he afforded the opportunity to go to airborne school right after that. So I believe it's changed. I would honestly, like, in my opinion, I would just keep it like that. Honestly, like, you might as well.
Yeah,
It's even more rewarding too. Like after you just completed, like you're going to the unit. Now you just got to get your wings, complete airborne school, and it's off to the races from there. But yeah, so pre-RAS is basically, in a sense, a little bit of a smoke show. It's a smoke show throughout the whole thing, honestly, but they're trying to weed out the ones that really don't want to be there, like you alluded to. What other techniques were they using? The other techniques like bag dumps, uh, anything like that to get y'all to quit it in pre-resp?
Oh, the bag dumps. Yeah. I do recall that they did do bag dumps where, as soon as you get there, you have to throw all your stuff on the floor and on the rocks is what it's called. It's a bunch of it's not like you're in the parking lot. You're literally on, it's called the rocks. So outside the barracks, you have a bunch of little pebbles. So but it's like super soft. So it's not like hard rocks or laying on it, it's gonna hurt. So so they get you in a big formation, and then you have all your bags belongings with you. They basically, you throw the bag, all your belongings in there, and the cadre are looking around trying to look for contraband. That's mostly what they're looking for. They're not really looking for, you know I don't know, stupid shit, but like they're mostly looking for, like, I don't know if dip's allowed anymore. I definitely don't think dip is allowed. They're looking for, um well, phones. You're allowed to have phones. Not in RASP though. That's for sure. Once you're in RASP, it's different. Um, I know that they also. I think for some guy. So I'm gonna talk about two different things. So you have pre RASP, and then you actually have RASP. You do another back dump into RASP. But I remember that they during that process, they also do another back dump, of course, but they also have water hoses, and they're wetting people, and I think they wet this one guy's like stuff, all of it. I think only because he did something. I don't know what. I think he posted something on social media or something where they're actually tracking everybody's social media, which is kind of crazy. Even if you don't think they are, they are. I think somebody's dad posted something about them going to RAS, and they found that out, so they were trying to make that guy quit. So they wet all his belongings, like they literally put all his stuff back in the bag, and then they fill the bag with water, and it was just a shit show for him. But yeah, for the most part, the bag dumps is just looking for contraband and stuff like that.
Yeah. Um Freaking, I'm trying to think of other things that. Oh, do you remember at all like what your scores were like in pre-res? Like, because they PTU, I think, to class up. You have to, of course, pass the PT test, I believe. Correct?
Oh yeah, so I kid you not, like, for the most part, if you can max, that's pretty good. I think if you can max your push up, sit ups, and run time, they're not gonna make you do a 2 mile run. You're gonna be doing a 5 mile run. But for a good time on a 5 mile run is somewhere around 38 minutes and below. Um, that's a good time for a 5 mile. For push-ups, the minimum, which is the maxing, is 71 push-ups, but you always want to strive above 71 push-ups. And same for sit-ups, is maxing is 81 or 82 sit-ups, I believe. So you definitely want to be somewhere around there, maybe a little bit higher, just because you're trying to compete for a slot, and also you want to be basically in the best physical shape possible. Because when you are in RASP, you don't necessarily do the PT test as soon as you get in there, like the first week. You probably do the PT test like in the second or third week. So throughout the time you're getting smoked, so you still have to have a little bit in your tank to be able to, um, perform during your actual PT test.
Did y'all have I don't know if it was in the pipeline when y'all went through, but there was a water survival test. Obviously, it wasn't anything extravagant like some
Oh,
kind of
so,
Navy
so
SEAL
no,
thing
yeah,
or.
yeah, no, the water survival test is not anything crazy. Ranger school, it's a little different, but it's nothing bad. It's nothing serious. If you could like literally uh just be able to, what is it called? Not trout water.
Tread?
Oh, tread water, yeah. So if you're able to just tread water, I think it'd be just fine. And if you could swim like 50 meters, that's even better. Um Yeah, it's super easy. So you're waiting in line. You actually want to be one of the first ones, because if you're one of the last ones, let's say you're like, oh, I'm a really good swimmer and I don't struggle with anything. They're probably gonna put you in the very back of the line, and you're waiting there for like literally an hour or two. So that's why I try to get in the front. Um, you basically, you have your kit on, you have your rubber duck, which is basically an M16 or M4, but it's made out of rubber. And you get to the deepest side of the pool, they kind of grab your plate carrier, and then you're basically like kind of like leaning back, and then they'll ask you to say one of the stanzas of the Ranger Creed. It could be random, and then as you're saying it, they'll drop you basically surprising you into the water. Then once you get in the water, you have to just take off your kit, and that's pretty easy. You drop your weapon, take off your kit, and then you have to swim across the pool, which is really not that hard. To me, that wasn't difficult. There were some people that struggled a lot, at least for the people that weren't really comfortable in the water for the most part.
Do you do you remember though, like your PT scores? Because I know you were very good at running just due to your soccer background, and I'm not
So
sure what your
for
push-ups. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I still remember. So for my push-ups, for that time, not for pre-RASP, but for RASP, I didn't do so great on push-ups. I remember I got like 68 push-ups. I think I got 83 on sit-ups. I know I maxed that one, but it wasn't by a lot. So it was like 83 sit-ups, and then for the run, it was insane. I think I did got a 32:30 5 mile run time, and then for pull-ups, which is actually chin-ups, you do chin-ups. I don't know if they just make you do the minimum of six. I think I tried doing more. I think I did like 12 or something.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's 6, but it goes back to what you were alluding to earlier, where if you want to be competitive, you're really gonna want to shoot for probably 15 and above, to be honest.
yeah, yeah, and that's what those were the kind of scores that I was getting. Trying to when I was in regiment, trying to go to ranger school, because you're also competing to go to ranger school with all the other guys that are also trying to go to ranger school. So yeah.
Yeah, which is even more intense because in Ranger
Oh, dude,
Bat.
yeah, no, that's even more intense. Your PT scores have to be off the fucking charts. Same with your ruck, because in second ranger battalion, yeah, it's different. But yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's a lot.
all right, so now you class up, you're going to RAS. Now, did you have a chip on your shoulder considering you didn't get selected for SFAS, or do you feel like not getting selected gave you more of a confidence boost more than anything, just due to you already know you've been through something brutal and it's nothing new. It's nothing new to you. So uh yeah, did you have a chip on your shoulder, or did you use it as motivation? Like where did that come into play at all when you got classed up for RASP?
So yeah, actually, not that I felt cocky or anything. I just felt more confident, that I was able to push through something that as brutal as SFAS. Some people are gonna say it's not that brutal. For me, it definitely was more brutal. But RAS for me, since I'm a good runner, I think it was a little easier for me. Um, but yeah, I definitely felt more confident, felt more ready as to like knowing what's the worst that could happen. Um, Also, one thing I didn't mention, for for SFAS or pre-SFAS, when you're in the barracks, you know how I told you that you do 5 mile runs, 5 mile rucks, every
Mm,
other day. Or not every day, but every day is different. You either do the run or the ruck. And
yeah.
I think either Thursdays or Fridays, I can't remember. It was like one of those days. They called it uh crossing the street, I believe, or basically what it is they take all the guys and you go across the street into the woods, and they smoke the hell out of you. I mean, they literally smoke the shit out of you for like maybe 2 3 hours. And I mean, it's pretty fucking brutal. A lot of the guys out there, the cadre at least, they're out there, they bring their coolers, they're chilling, because they know they're gonna be there for a while. So they're basically just smoking literally the hell out of us, making us do random shit like qualifies, fucking uh buddy drags, which is you're doing bear cross, but you have to drag one of your buddies or one of your friends. So like meanwhile one guy is like on the ground and the other guy has to like drag you drag whoever's like on the ground. So you have to bear crawl with somebody grab on get like from your neck, and you basically have to fucking pull him until you cross the finish line. You do fireman carries with your buddies too. You do all sorts of stuff, man. And that was pretty brutal. So going into RASP, once you know, pass your PT test, you now get a slot for the next class for RASP. Um, so I was pretty much prepared for myself, or pretty much confident and prepared to, knowing that I already went through some brutal stuff. So whatever comes my way is not gonna be is not something that I don't know, something that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, and that's another big distinction between RASP and SFAS, just overall. And what I mean by that is cadre and SFAS are quiet. It's one of those things where it just like you'll see the disappointment in their face, and it's like a disappointment from your father or mother, and it messes with your mind. You're like, dang, what did I do wrong? Like, did I do something wrong? Compared to RASP, where it's all about pressure. Give me a 9 line, or hey, pressure's on, put the tourniquet on. They're just yelling, yelling, yelling. They're trying to see if you fold under pressure. So I think that's something that I've seen too as well. A big distinction is just the level of messing with your head kind of games compared to um, RAS. But in terms of how RAS was structured, like when you went through, how was that structure? What were the phases, and what would they teach you in each phase that you had to, of course, test out on?
So I don't remember all the phases. I know there's only two phases, but like the phases as in like what comes each week, I can't remember too much. But from what I know, from what I remember, it's well the first week is just absolutely just smoking you every fucking day or every morning. You grab the logs or the worms is what they call them, the rogu worms. So it's essentially a log, except is made out of a bunch of individual sandbags in the logs, and that's to me that was way harder than carrying the logs. So you're out there carrying the logs. You have to push them overhead. Go down, do sit-ups with it. When you're doing sit-ups, it's actually kind of like a rest time for you. But yeah, you're doing a bunch of stuff with the logs. You're running around the barracks with them, with your team of like I think however many people could fit in there, like probably like 6, 7 people. They'll make you do push-ups. They'll make you do elephant walks, which is I don't know if you ever heard of that, but elephant walks is you're carrying the worm or the log in between your legs with every other person like behind you. So it's like kind of like a you're it's almost like you're squatting and you're walking with the fucking log.
It's like an
It,
awkward
it's
duck walk, or like a penguin
it
walk almost.
basically yeah, it's basically what it is. It's super awkward. And then they also give you a bunch of time hacks like um, things that build pressure, like, hey, you got 2, 3 minutes to grab all your belongings and go downstairs. And if you don't make that time hack, they'll probably make you do it again. And then until eventually, you're able to meet the time hack, which a lot of the time hacks are fucking, they feel like they're impossible, but they're definitely possible as long as, everybody's actually pushing themselves and doing it in the, you know, in an organized manner. Um, and then that's when they do the whole fucking you know contraband check, or they do the bag dumps. um but yeah, throughout the time, first week you're definitely getting smoked all the time. You definitely do. I think there's another test. They make you do a ruck run with one of the cadres is actually leading the way. You have to be able to stay with him. If not, if you don't stay with that cadre, you're gonna get negative counseling. I think after you get 3, you get recycled. I can't remember. It's something like that. So, you have to be able to keep up with the cadre, and the cadre that we had, if for the people that I don't know if for the people that are gonna go to RASP and they see Montenegro, I mean, good luck. I don't think he's there anymore, but that guy's pretty insane. He was a dude from the French Foreign Legion, and as well, he eventually went to stayed in regiment, and then he was a cadre in regiment for a good while, and he was the cadre that was leading the way for the ruck. I believe it was like 5 miles, I think. So the entire time we were pretty much running, and that was pretty brutal for me. Not being really good at rucking, surprisingly able to stick with the whole entire formation. There was still a lot of people that did fill out, but I was able to stay with that formation, and that was pretty surprising for me. You also do. I don't know if you do your PG test on the first phase, which is a whole month. Um, but I do remember a lot of the stuff that happened in core range, which is you do your 12 mile ruck, you get a core range. Immediately after everybody gets back, you immediately start getting smoked. Um, then you have to grab your rucks, and they make you do a bunch of like little basically mindfuck games. You have to get into this corral made out of sandbags, and it's kind of like a sand pit. But there's only it's a bunch of sandbags all around, making it a corral, but they have like little openings, and that's where you could come in, and then where you could also exit. So, and then they also do a bunch of hitting the woods, which is or hitting the tree lines, which is basically running. I think it's like a 300-meter run to the tree lines and then coming back and doing it all over again. So you have to be really good at running. After finishing a 12-mile rec, you're basically hitting the tree line like I don't know how many times. It's a long time. Throughout Core Range is I don't know if you ever heard of it. I'm pretty sure you have. Core
No,
Range.
yeah, that was actually something I did want to talk about too.
Yeah.
Was Cole Ray. So yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. Core Range is so for the people that don't know what Core Range is, um, it's basically where they bring out the bitch in you kind of thing. So you're after the 12 mile ruck, you're just literally the entire time you're just getting smoked. They're making you do fuck games. They're making you do lunges. They're making all the way to the tree line and back. They're making you do all sorts of things. They'll make you carry your rucks overhead, squat, hold squat, and then be able to ruck with your after completing a 12 mile ruck. For the people that aren't used to rucking, that's probably going to be very brutal because you're cramping up, your feet are fucked up, you're tired, you're hungry, and the entire time in core range, you probably average out of 4 to 5 hours of sleep, if not, yeah, like around that much time, depending, if you're able to sleep that fast. And every time they make you go to sleep, when they wake you up, they're probably waking you up with some more yelling or with sim grenades. So they're definitely having fun, but for you, it's probably just a whole shit show.
Yeah,
Um,
and I was wondering, do y'all sign like an NDA for that or something? Because it's rarely like it's talked about, but no one ever really like goes deep into like what goes on in Cold Rains. Like there's like such a mystique behind it. Like you'll hear
no, I
certain like
mean it's a whole like blur. Everything was a blur. Everything happened so fast because by the time you're in there, I mean you're just getting fucking. It's just it's a bunch of mindfuck games, a bunch of you know, it's just there's so much going on that you only remember like glimpses of what's going on because you're so tired. They're making you run all the fucking time. The worst thing that you're probably the one thing that you are gonna remember is that you're gonna be running a lot. You're definitely gonna be running a lot, and you're gonna be remember being in that little corral of sand, and you have like a bunch of sandbags surrounding you, and you definitely they give you time hacks. Like for example, you have to have like two formations in the little corral, from what I remember. And whenever they make you run to the tree line and back, they're not just gonna, hey, go to the tree line, come back. It's more like, hey, you got 2 3 minutes, or you got 4 minutes to hit the tree line and come back and be in formation. If not, you're gonna be doing it again. So everybody, when they hear that, everybody wants to like immediately like try to finish, hitting the tree lines, coming back, getting information. That way they don't keep getting smoked. Because if you don't meet the time hack, you're gonna keep getting smoked. You're gonna keep hitting the tree lines. You're gonna, keep doing fuck games. But I mean that doesn't stop. No matter what you do, you're always gonna have like more fuck games. At least that's what everybody calls it. It's never gonna stop. It was made to be like that. So
And what's your mindset during it? Like going back to my other episode with Sorry Braxton, titled Army Ranger Software Developer Shouts Harlan Braxton, and please watch the episode. Anyways,
Yeah.
he had a funny approach to it where he would laugh at getting smoked or whatnot, or
Oh my
whereas
god, yeah, no, it
others,
was funny. Yeah, no,
yeah, go ahead.
definitely, you have to have that kind of mindset where, like, you just don't give a fuck anymore. Um, if you're the kind of guy that's super serious about everything, that's like, "Hey, come on, guys, you know, if we don't get back on time, we're gonna keep getting soaked." If you're that kind of guy, then people are not gonna take you seriously.
Oh,
I'm not saying those guys are bad, but you know, you just got to go into that mindset where like you really don't give a fuck. You're just laughing about it because it's kind of like a shitty time. As shitty as it is, it's still gonna be funny. There's gonna be a lot of funny moments throughout that time, and I definitely have a couple of them, a couple of funny moments. But yeah, like Braxton said, you know, if you're laughing, if you're having a good time with the guys, it's not gonna feel as brutal. Even though it is brutal, it's not gonna feel as bad as, you know, I make it seem like it is. Even though like when I'm talking about it, it's like I only remember certain blurs. It's not like a vacation. It's more like a how can I explain it? It's a shitty situation that, you know, turns out it wasn't, you know, it goes by so fast that when you're out of it, you're like, that was, you know, it was whatever.
yeah, man,
So
like don't get in your own head. Like I think people, a lot of special operators, they allude to this where it's like people tend when they go through selections like that, they tend to live in the moment too much, and they also tend to look too far into the future. Like, dang, like I have 7 more weeks of this. Like, how in the world am I gonna keep doing 300-meter sprints? All these, getting smoked, barely having enough time to sleep. So enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like I said, like pain is temporary, quitting is forever.
oh
So
yeah,
especially,
absolutely.
when you make it to it, if you're in the army honestly, and you're going through selection like that, I promise it'll be 10 times better to be in a unit such as a Ranger Regiment or a special forces than it is being at a conventional unit. And nothing against a conventional unit, but if you're gonna literally commit, sign a contract, why not go out there, do the best, do what you're trained to do, with the best, right? And it just translates better when you go to the civilian. You know what it's like to be around A type guys. You may even also know what it's like to lead A type guys, or girls or gals, whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's just my little insight. What's a typical day to day in a RAS consist of? Because I obviously it's PT, smoke session heavy, but they have to be doing some sort of other curriculum such as land navigation, et cetera, et
Oh yeah,
cetera.
okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, throughout the I think first week and second week. I think throughout the all 3 weeks before you get to Coal Range, because Coal Range, when you get to Coal Range, it's not just a smoke fest. You're also you're preparing for the line F test. So I think there's I should have done my research on it a little bit. Even though I went through it, I still forget a lot of the things. But there's three or fuck, I forget. The main events that you have to pass is the 12-mile ruck march. You have to pass the line F, and you have to pass the the pizza test, of course. But throughout the time, you know, you're not just getting smoked for the first 3 weeks and then going to core range and then having, you know, getting expected to pass Atlanta, of course. So you're actually the first 3 weeks, yeah, you're getting smoked, but I think it's like an hour, 2 hour class. Can't remember exactly how long it is, but I think it's either before lunch or after lunch. You do a LANAV, not course, but like you go into a classroom and they teach you a lot of things about LANAV. So you know how to orient yourself, how to terrain associates, how to use a compass, a map, protractor, how to plot your points, how to route plan, things like that. You know, they're going over that with you, and I think those things are very important because for a lot of the guys are, you know, you could be the fucking most PT stud guy out there, but if you're not very good with the, you know, line F stuff or stuff that requires you a lot of thinking, then what good does it do for you to be that good at PT? But you know, you're not going to be able to pass RASP if you can't line nav. So and that goes not just you're not just gonna have to be good at line nav just to pass RAS, but when you go to your unit, you have to be also very good at line nav because that's like at least 50% of your job because especially for an infantryman, when you're doing a lot of your missions, you also have to be able to train associate, be able to know where you're going, where the mission is going to be. So it's a lot of it is lineup is very important as far as everything else. So lineup, I think they also go over like tie downs too. I can't remember. It's like they go over a lot of different little things and also how to take care of your feet for the people that don't really know how to take care of your feet. That plays a big role, especially being an infantryman and anything else in the army. Any you know green beret, whatever. Being able to be able to take care of your feet definitely goes a long way because after a tomahawk rug, your feet are probably gonna get you're gonna get a lot of blisters. You're gonna you know you could either get trench foot, you could get a lot of things, especially throughout core range. You're doing land nav in the fucking swamps, and as well as like very bad terrain. So being knowing how to take care of your feet also goes a long way, as well as land Evan. Of course, I already touched up on all that.
Yeah, and RAS was is pretty good too. Cadre do a good job of allowing you to keep try. They try their best to get you to stay in the game, meaning they give you opportunities to recycle. At that point, it's whether or not you're like, okay, do I want to really do this? So, luckily in RAS, especially more so for the phase 1, which is E1 through E5, you do for the most part you'll get opportunities as long as you're not totally like terrible. You'll have multiple chances to complete RAS. But did you notice any difference between how SF cadre would teach land nav and how RAS cadre would teach land nav?
Um, Not really. It's pretty similar. One thing I could say about Lanev and SFAS, I feel like they go more in depth, or maybe I don't know. It's definitely a little bit different in SFAS. Also the SAR course is far different from the LANF that you do in RASP. Because when you're in RASP, you're allowed to walk in the roads. You're allowed to do all sorts of stuff. I think the only thing that they don't allow you to use is like the red light and stuff like that. If you get caught, um, you're gonna get recycled, or you're probably gonna get kicked out. I don't know what it is exactly. I think you just get recycled, but that's if you get caught. So that's if you get caught. For the Lana or the Star course, which is a SFA Atlanta, of course. You're not allowed to be walking on the roads. If you do cross the road, you have to cross in a, you can't be crossing it diagonally. You have to cut, right across the street. You can't be within 50 meters of any road. You have to be, if you are gonna, follow a road, you have to be away from that road at least 50 meters. So you're mostly walking on the woods the entire time in SFAS, which I think makes it a little bit more difficult because when you're on the road, obviously you're going to be able to, travel a lot faster versus, you're in the woods it's in the middle of the night. And I think that for the Star Course, I think it starts like around midnight, and it ends at like 11:30 or something like that.
And it
So it's
messes with your
like,
pace count too, which is way harder with thick brush and stepping over
oh
things.
yeah, it definitely messes with your pace count. It also you also gotta watch out with all the branches hitting your eyes and stuff like that. Also watching your step because you don't want to fall into a hole. I can't even tell you how many times I fell down going through the Star Course, especially because I think this one time I didn't fall off a cliff, but it was damn near a fucking cliff. It was like pitch black, and I literally fell probably like at least like 15 feet. But I slid. Luckily, it wasn't like just straight down shot. It was more like a like sideways. It was I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it was like pretty high up, and it was
Yeah.
pretty terrifying. I could have got really hurt so many times, but Yeah, no, and I definitely had one friend who he had to get dropped out or medically dropped because he actually one of his eyes got punctured by a fucking branch. So, and I think I have a picture of it. I have to find it, but I can show you later. I don't know if he wants me to send it to you, but he definitely, well, a really good guy, went through SFAS and he had to get med dropped because fucking branch hit him right in the eye, even though he had his eye protection on. So, yeah, no, it's definitely some dangerous stuff. And like I said, you are gonna be able to, or you're gonna probably cross through rivers or other sorts of stuff. For RASP, um, if you're fuck, I forget what the how the map is like. I think the southwest portion of it is very swampy, and I have seen alligators there. So that's not even bullshitting, yo. That's I have seen alligators actually going walking towards RASP. I saw alligators on the fucking swamp or pond. It's a pretty big pond, but you'll see alligators there, and the southwest portion of it is very swampy. It's probably like around a little over a knee, um, almost waist deep water. So and it's very murky. So when you're walking through there, either early in the morning or at nighttime, it's kind of scary knowing that there are alligators there.
Yeah, no worries. I heard alligators in Fort Benning are known for being pretty friendly, so you can always pet them if you want.
Yeah,
Nah, but
I mean, hopefully.
I think I think you had mentioned offline actually about your brother. I think he's thinking about going down a similar path. Are you able to
Yeah,
touch
no,
on that?
yeah, he's what, about to be 22 in a couple of days. But yeah, no, that guy, he's actually, so before, joining the military, before all that, he was actually the one that always talked about, going Navy SEALs or, doing some sort of special operations. Um, I always thought it was cool. I always thought, like, that's pretty badass. I never really thought about it that much. I just thought it was cool, with all the movies and stuff like that. Of course, it's going to motivate you into wanting to join. Um, but I never really thought about it too much. He was always the one bringing it up and stuff. And then I did forget to mention. So yeah, my brother, about my brother real quick. Yeah, he definitely wants to join. He's crazy enough to do it. I feel like me and him, we're pretty much very similar. He's very fit, definitely more fit than I am right now. And I definitely talked him through everything that, what to expect as far as going into special operations. And he's definitely a smart guy. So same height as me, probably same body build too. I don't think he's gonna have any problems going through it, especially since he's a cool dude. So he'll definitely go through it, no problem. But I think right now he's thinking about either doing SEALs or doing PJs, going through the Air Force PJ selection, which is, I mean, who cares? I
Man,
don't care what he goes through. I mean, he doesn't have to go through the same path I went through, but going
yeah.
through one of those things would be pretty cool for him.
No, it would, but it's so tough, especially nowadays with if you want to go sales and like I said, this is just from other like mentors on YouTube, like Jake Zwig, if you ever heard of him, like it's just so oversaturated, because people see the Zero Dark 30, they see Operation Neptune Spear. Everybody and their mama wants to be a SEAL. So it's
Oh, I
like
know.
10 times. And I'm not saying your brother can't do it, right? I'm just
Yeah,
saying
no,
that to
absolutely.
get the contract or to even get to buds like takes like maybe a year or two. So you have to be like smart as heck, physical condition, like it's super hard. And then with PJs, there's only a certain amount of PJs within the Air Force, and that's a whole freaking another crazy ballpark within itself. You know what I mean? So I mean, kudos to him. If he goes to the pipeline, if that's his dream, by all means, like do what you want to do. It's at the end of the day, it's your life. No one's gonna do those rugs, do those runs, do those quals for you. So at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do, that's what you do. But I think a Ranger regiment would be a great place to start, just because, like you said, in in hindsight, now looking back on it, you know, you were able to get deployments under your belt compared to where if you would have been in the Q course and all that, you still would have been through a long time of training. So hopefully he should look into Ranger Regiment too. But nonetheless, anyways,
Yeah,
good luck to him. Definitely gonna stay updated with you on that. That'd be awesome to see his journey. Did he already? When is he gonna sign the contract or decide? Do you know?
So right now he's giving himself a year to to
Right.
train. Because not that long ago he had a pretty bad. I think it was like a year, maybe 2 years ago. I was with him when it happened. He had a pretty bad rock climbing accident, and he fell like 30 feet from one of the walls that he was climbing, and he fractured his feet. I swear to God, he from a pretty big fall, like a huge fall. And I was right there with him, right next to him actually. And he falls, I think it was like 30 feet, and he actually lands on his friend. So his friend broke his fall, and he was actually able to walk away with just a fractured, or not even fractured. I think he just sprained his ankle pretty bad, both of them. Um, and he fucked up his Achilles kind of bad. But his friend actually had a fractured his, oh, I forget what it's called, like shoulder blade or something crazy. I don't know. It's like the shoulder blade that like the thing that pops out of your back.
Your traps?
Um, no, not his traps. His man, I think it's just shoulder blade. Something
Yeah,
really.
something to shoulder.
Apparently,
Yeah.
when the doctors saw it, they were thinking like he probably got into a really bad car crash or something. They didn't believe the guy. That some guy fell on him.
Yeah.
Because apparently it's a really hard bone to fracture. But he gave himself a from that time he was like already thinking about joining, but that accident actually just he had to think about it a little bit longer. He had to wait to recover a little bit longer because even to this day he still has problems with his Achilles. Not too bad, but he's like finally fully recovering. But it definitely took a while.
Yeah, most definitely. And a little fun fact that my friend had showed me, man, is crazy. It's possible, like it's not for sure yet, but they're thinking of making a Army National Guard Ranger Regiment unit because
Oh
they
yeah,
seen. Do you see that, dude?
yeah,
And I was like, what?
yeah.
Because they're like, oh well, it was proven successful with SF, so why not do it with Dude, if that happens, I'm telling you, people are gonna be jumping on that like It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be insane.
I don't think it's gonna be the same, man. I really don't. I mean, I hope it is. I have no problem with it, but I don't think it's gonna be the same. Reason being is because Rangers, being a regiment, you're constantly training every single day. I mean, every single day you go into the COF, at least that's what they call it. So you have, you know, Alpha Bravo Charlie companies, and then you have Delta HQ, whatever. Um, all the way to Echo. But what you see in Regiment it's definitely something unique. You go in there early in the morning, everybody's like getting ready to PT, and they're all like doing some crazy ass PT. For my leadership, I already told you, Sergeant Career. Um, that guy, he was training to go to Delta Group. So every single freaking time we're training to do so preparing himself for Delta selection. So every single time we'll get into the call, we'll be, either doing a Murph and then running 5 miles afterwards or doing some insane WOD. I mean, it was just literally every single day was pretty fucking painful being with that guy. As much as I fucking liked him and as good as he was, I mean, it was fucking painful. Especially the PT workouts that he would make us do. Um, and same with all the other people there. All the other people were also, doing their PT test or PT stuff like lifting weights, doing CrossFit workouts, but not literally CrossFit. It was more like CrossFit, but with good form because nobody wants to do bad form. I'm not saying CrossFit is bad, but a lot of the form is somewhat okay. Then every single day, right after PT test, everybody's going to breakfast, coming back. They're going into their classes. Either they're doing shadow houses. So for infantry guys, you're doing shadow houses, or you're learning about like battle drill 1 alpha or perfecting, how to clear rooms, of course, how to um there's so many other stuff like how to in the situation that a guy barricades himself, and you have to be able to clear out that kind of building. Um, and there's obviously way more stuff that I totally forget of what they do, but they do so many things. For the medical guys, they're always training with the infantry guys too, how to like do litter drills or narc bag drills. For the litter drills is, one guy's going to be carrying the litter. They have to set up the litter within like a minute or two, and be able to put in the casualty ready to go to exfil that guy. Same with, I mean, they're also going over basic, how to shoot a pistol, how to shoot a rifle, the way you have to position yourself, things like that. Even over how to secure a compound, because in Afghanistan and Iraq, when you're clearing a building or a compound, most of the time they're gonna have a big old wall around him. So the guys have to be able to like set up the ladder on top of the wall, climb it, and be able to secure the entire area all sequentially, or yeah, at the same time. So it's a lot of the stuff that they do is very in depth. So they're constantly training every single day. So for National Guard, we go in there like 2-4 times a month. So it's being able to learn all those things and keep learning new things like Ranger Regiment does, and trying to like glue that all into your head for 4 days and then keep that same stuff for the next drill. I think it's gonna be very hard for for those guys at least. That's my
Nah,
opinion.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. But I know people are gonna be pushing for that. They're gonna be like, "Oh man, like I could be a ranger
No,
and
yeah,
Ranger Regiment."
don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's badass. It's
Yeah,
just like
no, but I get
like
what you're saying though.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
um,
me teaching the guys at at National Guard right now, and them having to retain all that information that I give them for the next drill, that we could get into the next step. I know a lot of people, they basically just brain dump everything, or not everything, but a lot of it, when they go back into their civilian job, and they come back and have to set all over again. So it's kind of like a one of those things that, yeah, I think is possible. It's just gonna be very tough. So
yeah, I guess maybe the upside is for former Ranger guys like you who decide to go to the National Guard and they make a unit like that, you're going to be surrounded by nothing but Rangers, Ranger squirrel guys, where they are taking it a little more serious. Not a little actually, they're
oh
taking it
yeah,
very more
it could be.
serious, and it's more better for you compared to like you said, you're like, okay, like I'm teaching a lot of these guys like cool stuff, but some of them just brain dead because they're like, okay, I'm just looking forward to my ETS. I'm looking to get MOS queued in another MOS, et cetera, et cetera. But I just want to cap off pre-RAS that way we could jump into regiment. Kind of itching to get to that topic too,
Oh yeah,
honestly.
yeah, go ahead.
So finally, pre-RAS or pre-RAS RAS. Now you graduate. Just kind of want to know how impactful that feeling was to get that scroll and just get that scroll on your you know on your shoulder on you. Just considering you went through SFAS, didn't get selected, made a push to go to Ranger School, where a Ranger Regiment, or RAS, wherever the case may be. You got the afforded the opportunity to go to RAS, and now you finally made it to a soft unit. Just kind of walk us through that feeling and what it was sharing that moment with your family.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was definitely pretty great. Yeah, I was able to see my family after a long time, so that was pretty cool. Because I remember I saw them during HBL, so April, graduating around June. Um, yeah, I think it was April, and then May, June. Yeah, so I started like the last days of April, going to May, and then June. Yeah, so I graduated June. Able to see my family, so that was pretty awesome. My brother was actually the one that put the squirrel on me, so that was pretty tight. Um, but yeah, overall, I think it was more like like finally I was able to make it without getting recycled, or most of the time I wasn't thinking about like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to pass this, or I'm not gonna be able to pass that, but I was scared of like me doing something stupid, or for example, for phase two, I know we didn't really went over that too much, but basically what phase two is of RASP is they go over basic pistol shooting, basic rifle shooting, all that marksmanship. They also go over all the breaching stuff that they use, like the tools as well as explosives. So you go over all that. But I know people have recycled from phase two, even though it's really hard to recycle or even quit because you're doing a lot of fun stuff. But I've heard of people, recycling because they've accidentally flagged themselves or flagged the buddy. What being flagged means is basically aiming your gun accidentally to, or pointing your gun accidentally to somebody that you're not intending to shoot. So even if like I'm aiming my gun, and I barely like point it at you and come down, not meaning to do it, right? That's considered a flag. And yeah, from hearing those people getting recycled all the way to day one, that was pretty scary for me. Um, so the entire time I was just mostly worrying about, doing something as simple and stupid as that. And so once I graduated, it was like a breath of fresh air, being able to finally relax. But also thinking about the next step, which is now I'm getting ready to go into my Ranger unit, and that's gonna be another fucking smoke show for sure. Because a lot of people don't talk about it too much, but when you get to your unit, it's another smoke fest. You're gonna get fucked with. Obviously, you're the new guy, so everybody's itching to meet the new person, and it's not a good. It's definitely not a fun experience. I mean, it's memorable for sure, but it's also like, fuck, man, I don't want to go into this again. You just got done getting smoked with for the past month or so, and now you have to do it all over again and learn a bunch of more things. And now it's not like you have to prepare yourself for RAS. Now you got to prepare yourself every single day for what's what's to come. It could be a deployment, it could be a next war, it could be something else. So that once you get to your unit, you're basically starting from day one again. So
Yeah, man,
it's one of those things.
it's crazy you said that because that's a perfect way to my next question, honestly. But of course, now you're getting sent to your assigned battalion, which is Second Ranger Battalion. But the question that in a sense, were kind of answering was it's harder to it's easy to get into regiment, but it's harder to stay in. Why
Oh
is
yeah,
that?
absolutely. But having that mental fortitude, or whatever they call it, being able to maintain yourself in shape, maintain yourself out of getting in trouble, maintain yourself out of everything. Because once you're there, you feel like you're unstoppable. Um, a lot for a lot of the guys, I felt like I was, not the king of the world, but I just felt like, that not ego boost, but I mean, it just feels awesome, to be part of a unit like that and all that comes with it. But you also have to be, aware of like, hey, now you are representing this unit. Whatever you do, that's gonna impact, that unit. So you don't want to fuck anything up and make them look bad. So that goes with, how you act around in public and stuff like that. So you have to maintain all that, at a good level. Um, for me, it wasn't for like getting ready. I didn't graduate and immediately went to my ranger unit. I actually went to since I was new to the army, so I was I had to choose an MOS. So I didn't actually stay 11 Bravo. I could have, but I would have had to stay in third battalion. But they gave me the option of, if I could choose my MLS, I could also choose a battalion I wanted to go to. And for me, I really wanted to, see something different. I've never been to the West Coast. I've never seen pine trees. I think the closest I've seen to pine trees was in Ruidoso, New Mexico, when I went to go snowboarding, and I remember loving that, like that scenery, the mountains and stuff. So I really wanted to go to Second Ranger Battalion, and now the next option was I had to choose an MOS, and they had a bunch of other MOSs like cook, truck driver, mechanic, all these other jobs, but the best one for me was 13 Fox, which is forward observer, and what that is basically you get to control artillery as well as mortars. You get to control aircrafts, control them, and basically what it is you're able to call in airstrikes. That's basically a pretty badass Call of Duty perk that you could get. So for the guys that don't know what that, I mean, it's a pretty cool MLS. You get to do cool shit. You get to call in, you know, fire from a freaking AC-130, or be able to call in helicopters and do really cool stuff like that. Even F-15s, A-10s, F-16s, F-18s, all these aircrafts that you get to play with. I mean, it's pretty awesome, I think.
I got you. Yeah, actually, that was one of my questions, which was how is it being a forward observer in regiment? But you kind of alluded to that a little bit, and I was gonna ask, if you had to choose all
Yeah.
over again, would you choose the same OS? But it sounds like you were pretty solid with 13 Fox.
Well, absolutely. I think as I felt like I went in there definitely not prepared. I knew what a 13 Fox was, but I didn't know what it took to be a 13 Fox in regiment. It's completely different from conventional army, because conventional they only practice shooting, controlling or whatever you want to call it, doing call for fires with mortars and artillery, which is not, I'm not saying it's simple, it's more robotic. The way they talk, the way they communicate over the radio is very proper. Versus when you're talking to aircrafts, it's more of a kind of like a conversation, and you just got to keep it rolling, and you have to be able to communicate very concise, very specific. Give out very specific information, and be able to you know, describe what you're seeing to the aircrafts. So, for example, I see one enemy tank in the open. For example, I have to be able to talk them on to that tank, not just like Call of Duty. You just use the little laser to mark whatever target you want to shoot. Well, with being a forward observer, a lot of the times you're not gonna have that, that equipment, so you have to be able to talk them on to that, enemy, the tank, whatever it is, and be able to describe what you're seeing, like if you're looking at it from his view. So if you've ever been in a plane, when you're in a plane and looking down, everything looks pretty much the same. All the buildings, they look the same. You're not going to be able to see the names written on them. You're not going to be able to see, the color of the building, because a lot of the roof is going to be different from the wall. So you have to be able to describe what you're seeing, and be able to, you know yeah, I guess, yeah, describe it from his point of view, and be able to, get him close to the target before you actually shoot it. And you also have to be able to, you know what's it called, be able to organize that call for fire and do it safely, because when you're gonna be dropping a bomb, or whatever you're gonna be dropping, a lot of times it's gonna be JDAM. Um, you're gonna have to be able to do it safely, because it's not just you and the enemy, is you, your guys that are around you, and the enemy, plus the civilians that are out there. So you have to be able to know the things that you're not going to be able to shoot or destroy. If that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically what I'm trying to say is, when you're doing your job out there, it's very um, you have to be very precise. You have to be able to do your head-on attack, or man, I forget exactly how it goes, but it's your you have to be able to do your attack at a very safe um, position, because the aircraft can be flying over you. It can be flying over your friendlies. It can be, you have to set up the attack to where the bomb is not going to accidentally drop on your guys as well as yourself. There's so much that goes into it. If I go too much in depth, I'm probably going to forget a lot about it. But there's a lot of stress that goes into that job.
Yeah, most definitely. And what's a typical day like at Garrison versus on training cycle?
So typical
Basically
day.
comparing the two. Yeah.
I feel like a training cycle versus Garrison. I think Garrison, we're mostly like it's hip pocket training. Um, and you're also preparing a lot of the equipment for, whatever we're gonna be doing that day. So, we're practicing how to set up radio, set up frequencies, for a forward observer. You're also practicing how to well, program them, how to communicate with them, um how to be able to troubleshoot them. Other things are like all the other equipment that we're gonna use, like the marking equipment, the how to how to basically look at an enemy target and be able to plot it on your map, and be able to do cover fires with artillery, mortars, and as well as aircrafts. And we're also going to be learning a lot of stuff on PowerPoint. So learning about all the types of enemies that we're going to be able to see, like, or that we're possibly going to see, like tanks, surface to air threats, um, even even other airplanes that we're going to be seeing out there, as well as the planes that we're going to be working with. So we have to learn all the acronyms, all the that they use. So when we're talking with them, we're not going to get confused with all the acronyms they're using. Um, we're going to learn all the bombs that they're able to carry, all the nomenclatures that they have. So every each bomb has their own nomenclature. They're all going to be different. Like they have different body types, different uh, explosives, different. It's so much they have to learn. So it's they go really in depth with it, but for the main gist of it is you're going to learn each type of aircraft and what they're able to carry, what kind of bombs they carry, and um, like other things like cool facts like how long are they going to be able to stay on mission, how um, what is like their their what altitude do they want to fly in, little things like that. So they all uh, fly at different altitudes, or they require different altitudes for the best possible what's it called, and I'm lost for words right now.
No, you're
It's
good,
a bit,
man. Like it's a lot of like you said, man, it's a lot of stuff to
oh, it's a
remember.
lot,
And
man.
it's
Just thinking about it now, I'm like, oh my god, it's so stressful. Because
yeah.
me being a Spanish speaker at first and learning all these stuff, it's basically learning a new language. So yeah, a lot of the acronyms is you have to memorize all that. A lot of the, yeah, I mean it's so much, man.
Yeah.
It's insane.
This is a two-part question.
What's up?
So hopefully you'll be able to get some insight. The first part is what in your opinion is key to being successful in regiment? And the second part to that question is what makes a good forward observer in regiment?
So yeah, I think to be a good soldier in regiment, um, be able to do the small tasks perfect. Whether it's getting ready on time, um, having all your equipment, being organized with all your equipment, um, being at the right place, right time, right uniform with the right equipment. That's basically what the four things that they mention. Um, doing those little things, I mean, that's gonna definitely make a huge impact on being a good soldier in regiment, or a good ranger. So all those things right there, I mean, that's the key to success. Also being able to be physically fit. That's another one because a lot of people they think that once they pass RASP they can finally slack off, but that's really not how it is. You're gonna be able to you're gonna have to compete with all the people there because as a new ranger in regiment, your next step is to go to ranger school. So all that training, all that stuff that you just went through, or for selection, it doesn't stop. It keeps on going. Even after ranger school, you're still gonna have to be fit. A lot of people after ranger school, from what I noticed, not everyone, but some of the people, they usually start slacking off because they think once they have their ranger tab, they could just chill. But um, a lot of the time that leads them into a bad direction to where now they're not going to be able to pass a PT test, they're not going to be able to pass a run, and all that's left for them is now they have to leave. They have to get either end their contract right there, or they have to you know
RFS?
the RFS, yeah. And then for to be a good forward observer in regiment, um, from what I noticed, being able to communicate very well, I think that's a very very hard thing to do, especially even for me. I think I'm not great at communicating. I think I wish I was. There's some people that are just great at it. They're naturally good at it. Be able to you know uh, when they're doing the PowerPoints, be able to just understand what they're talking about, ask questions when you're going over the PowerPoint with your leadership, because that was another thing that, a lot of times I didn't want to ask questions because I felt like it was stupid, or for whatever reason, and I felt like that I could have definitely changed that into like asking more questions, and that's definitely was going to help me be more successful and as a forward observer. I guess another thing is be I guess there's so many things. I feel like, uh, for the most part, communication, being a good listener, and just memorizing a lot of stuff. Being good at memorizing stuff is
Yeah.
is another good thing.
Yeah, big time, man. And I feel like, you know, not to be too harsh, hopefully it doesn't come off harsh, but it's like if you make Ranger Regiment or any soft unit, but since we're talking about Ranger Regiment specifically, if you think just because you get the scroll, you get the tab, you can rest on your morals, man, that should be the opposite. That's not a Ranger in the sense of all. They're always looking to be the best. They're always looking to become the best. They're always
Oh
striving for
yeah,
more. And that's the mindset you take in the army, in the military, and that's the same mindset you have to take in civilian. That's like saying like, oh, like I'm gonna start a business. I open the business. Okay, great, but where's the customers? Where's the employees? Where's all this other work that you got to do, that you got to keep striving to get better? You got to train your employees to be better. You got to continue to learn. You got to continue to network. It's the same process. So it's like never rest on your morals, man. Always look for more. Always strive for more. And yeah, that's about as clear as I can get on that whole topic. But I want to jump into the deployment. So, how many times did you deploy in regiment, and looking back, which deployment was the best deployment? Looking back on it now.
so I deployed two times. I deployed one time in Iraq, and that was 2019, all the way to 2020. But it was a very short deployment. It was a 4 month deployment, and then the second time was Afghanistan, when we're leaving Afghanistan. What year was that? Like 2021? I forget. I think it was like 2021.
Yeah, like
Um,
yeah, somewhere around there.
yeah, I forget the days too well, but I remember we deployed it. It was June, and I only know that because there's a lot of important dates that I missed out on that one deployment, even though it was a month-long deployment, which is very short. We're
Yeah,
apparently supposed to stay there till December. That didn't happen, obviously, because I don't know. I don't know. That wasn't my call. That wasn't my leadership call. That was way above us that made the call to uh to leave everything behind. I wish we could have stayed there a little longer. I think we definitely would have helped a lot more if we stayed a little longer. But that's just me. That's my opinion. But yeah, for my ferry deployment, definitely my first deployment. Even though it's still private, technically a private, I didn't have my Ranger tab or anything. But my ferry deployment was definitely the first one, and that was Bashir, Iraq. Um, for the most part, we were QRF, or Quick Reaction Force for Delta, and I got to meet some of the greatest guys there. For example, I already told you about it. I got to meet two guys, Chris and Greg. There's more guys, John, whatever. I'm just gonna say their first names. But those guys taught me a lot. They taught me how to be really, really good at with pistol shooting.
hmm
Um, if for the people that want to get better at pistol shooting, I recommend watching videos with T-Rex Arms, or Lucas Balkins. That guy's fucking insane. That guy's literally basically everything I learned from Delta is basically kind of the same stuff that he teaches. Even though he's a civilian and never been in the military, he's still a pretty good shot. But for the most part, I learned that, as well as got to experience new things with how the Delta operates, how they do their CQB, how they do operations. It's definitely a lot different from the typical Ranger raid. It's not how it used to be. It's not kicking indoors and just doing risky stuff like that. Everything has changed, and I think it's probably for the better. Um, but yeah, it's that for the most part, Iraq definitely my best deployment.
what's it like being around Delta operators? Because obviously that's the tip of the spear. That's like where most that's like a soft guy's dream once they get into soft for the most part if they're looking to stick around and really grow their career. What's it like be around those awesome guys?
I think for the most part, they're very humble guys. They're also very physically fit. Probably the most physically fit dudes I've ever seen in my life. Uh, they kind of, some of the guys look like the typical like uh how can I explain it? I forget that guy's name. The guy that the I forget his name. He's man, I forget. He's an operator, but from the UK. He's the one that I think it was in somewhere in Africa where like he had all his equipment with him and he was able to operate in that mass shooting situation. I forget his name. I'm pretty sure you've seen him.
Oh, I think I
You know who I'm
seen
talking about.
that. They called him
I
like
literally saw a video not that long
Kenobi or
ago.
something like that.
Something I forget,
I know
but
what you're talking about. Like, yeah, he was insane. Like, he literally like cleared the whole building or something crazy like that.
yeah. So a lot of the Delta operators, they kind of like if I could you know describe how they were, it was kind of like that person right there. They're all very humble guys. They're not everyone looks like they're gonna be like an operator. They just look like a regular civilian person, just like everyone else, except they're able to like grow their hair out a little bit longer. They have their cool beards. They definitely have some cool stuff.
The
That's
swag.
oh yeah, no, they definitely have the flow. It's kind of hard to explain, but for the most part, they kind of look like a Patagonia or Arc'teryx freaking model or some shit. It's kinda funny, but that's, kinda like the way I could describe him
Yeah.
they look like that type of person. Very
Now
outgoing.
you were QRF, but did you ever train with them like CQB or going on ranges with them and shooting like anything like that?
Yeah. No, yeah, for CQB, for the most part, what I got from them is that they don't communicate the way we do. They use a lot of, like, hand signals, they also use a lot of, their IR lasers, their IR lights to communicate, so they don't talk with each other. They kind of like just give each other gestures. Like um I'm not gonna go too into depth because I don't want to give out all their secrets. But the way they communicate is basically just using their lasers or their IR lights and their sometimes hand signals. But for the most, yeah, when they're doing CQB, everything's super quiet, super smooth. They're not going super fast like everybody thinks they go. They go very, very slow, but they also go very smoothly, which makes it look like they're going fast, but they're not. Um, and the only reason being is because there's no rush into getting into an unknown room. So if there's a guy that's in there wanting to kill you, what's a rush in wanting to rush in that room? Um, so I noticed that. I also noticed that for for hostage rescue, that's when they do go fast. That's when they actually go balls to the wall, fucking clearing in rooms like fucking John Wick or something. But yeah, that's the only time they actually do move a lot faster. But they all know exactly what they're doing, what they're gonna be doing next. So that's what makes them special. They do a lot of the same things that we do in Ranger Regiment, except they all know they're all tracking. It's like all their brains are connected, and they're all doing it so smoothly and so fucking perfectly that it looks fucking insane. It looks, yeah. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just it looks cool. It looks
Did you ever
really
find
awesome.
yourself like in awe and constantly wanting to ask them questions about CQB,
Oh no,
hostage
yeah.
rescue?
I asked them a bunch of questions. I mean, I asked them like, um, in this situation, a barracuda shooter, what do you guys use? A lot of the times they're just gonna be like, oh, we're just gonna use a thermal barrack grenade or an ammo like a flashbang that basically it's a thermal barrack flashbang. What it does is kind of crushes your insides. Or they use like a grenade or whatever's gonna be best to get into that room, the safest, as well. Um, I guess another question that I asked was, like if they're ever worried about IEDs, and that was kind of like a curious question because you never know what the next room is going to be holding. And for them, it's mostly like, to be honest, that's all luck at that point. Um, Going into an IED, that's luck of the draw. It's either gonna happen to you or it's not. It's not one of those things that you're gonna be able to prepare yourself. Because we actually did a class with them on well, and it was an ODA that were there. Um, they showed us all the IEDs that they've been exposed to, and those IEDs are literally almost nearly impossible to see, even for an OED or ODA guy or EOD. Yeah,
EOD,
EOD.
yeah, explosive
EOD.
ordnance disposal.
ODA is fucking Sfas. Yeah, EOD. Those guys were explaining it that a lot of times if they see trash or something that's kind of looks off to them, then that's when they'll use like a canine to like sniff it out, make sure that there is no IDs. But for the most part, it's nearly damn impossible to see. Um, Other questions are, let's see, how many times do they go shooting? On their own time or in their training cycle. And from what they told me is that a lot of the times they really don't. Oh, they do they obviously do a lot of shooting, but they don't shoot a lot as much as they dry fire. They dry fire probably a lot more than they do shooting. And if you actually get into dry firing, that actually helps a lot. Um, it helps with your mechanics. It also helps getting comfortable with the weapon. So dry firing overall, I think is definitely key to getting better at shooting. So we did a CQB class. We also did a pistol class, and that class alone, that probably made me into buying guns, going out there and training, and just do more dry firing. And I think I improved a lot just from that alone, is dry firing and being able to practice on my own time. Um, but yeah, the first class, so it was a 3-week class with them on pistol shooting. The first week was literally nothing but dry firing, whether it was taking the gun out of the holster and getting a good sight picture, sight alignment, and getting a good trigger squeeze. Next thing was reloads, and then after that was moving comfortably while you're holding a pistol and shooting. Um, of course, shooting a pistol is definitely a lot harder with the rifle than a rifle, but those are some of the things that we went through with those guys, and I think if it wasn't for them, I definitely wouldn't be as good of a shooter as I am now. So it's
Did
definitely
you see
thank you.
anything? Did you see anything unique in the way they taught? Whether it was their ability to explain something properly, the ability to paint a great picture in your head of like, oh wow, like that makes sense. Like, was did you see anything unique in regards to how they would teach you compared to other rangers, SF, whatever the case may be? Like, is there anything like unique? Because there's obviously a big mystique behind Delta, whether it's their movements, their ability to shoot, their ability to communicate. Was there anything like, oh, well, like they explain things so perfectly?
So yes and no. I feel like a lot of the times when they're explaining it, it's almost like it is it's as good, if not probably as good as how a first sergeant in a regiment explains things, because they definitely explained it in a very professional way, um, very smoothly, very descriptive, or they were able to paint a picture of what they were talking about. Um, so yeah, they definitely talk very professionally. It's a lot of the Delta guys, they do come from regiment, so I think that's why the way they talk is kind of almost similar. Um, so we're able to connect a lot better when it comes to um, just talking with them and talking about like tactics with them. Of course, they're going to be better. I'm not saying that regiment is not better than them. Is more like we have the capability of getting to that level. It's just that those guys have been doing it for way longer, and they do it so often that it looks they do it to where it's perfect. So that's the only reason that they're just that good.
Yeah, I mean they're the masters at the basics, and being a top tier tier one unit like that, and there is tier one unit for Rangers are considered a tier one unit, but RRC
Oh yeah,
Ranger
those
Reconnaissance
guys, yeah,
Company, those guys are going to be the tier one for Rangers. So just a little insight
yes.
on that if you are in Ranger Bed and you maybe don't
And
know
those
about that
guys,
because it's not
yeah,
talked about.
those guys are very unknown. Or at least not a lot of people talk about them. But from what I know is that going through that selection apparently is a little bit harder than going through Delta, which is I don't know if it's true. I mean, that's just what I heard it from some of the guys in regiment is just that RRC is a lot harder. It kind of blows my mind. I don't know if it is, and I don't want to just say that out loud and just be like that's the truth. It's because I have no idea. I've never been through it. But yeah, those guys are very not talked about. Uh, they're definitely I think they're pretty good from what they do. They do, of course, what it sounds like is reconnaissance, but some of their stuff is pretty cool too. They get to halo into situations where they have to, you know, they're tasked out in like a small group of dudes. um, they halo into an objective. They get all the targets that we need to worry about. All the basically they're just painting a picture of what the next objective is going to be, and then they send it out to us, and then we take care of it. Um, but yeah, those guys they definitely do some cool stuff, and they do definitely have some cool gear. First time seeing them, I remember they had lots of like a long beard, they had long hair. Their camo was different, and I noticed that a lot of them had like the really cool Arc'teryx jackets. And it was winter time, and some of the guys they actually had like one guy I remember seeing he had an MP7, another guy had a Scar, and then another guy had a MCX. And I thought that was pretty cool because it's guns that you typically don't see that often. In regiment, you usually have the M4, the 249, the 240, and then the new I think it's a SIG or Knights Armament gun. It's a new machine gun that we're testing out.
I think you were around
Yeah.
SEALs as well, right?
We
Navy
we did have
SEALs.
2 SEALs with us. I don't know if they were attached to them or they were actually a part of Delta, 'cause, I know they had an SAS guy with them too. They had one SAS guy attached to them, and they also had, MARSOC, I believe. I think it was MARSOC or Marines. Um, and I don't wanna, like, just say that they were, like, part of Delta, but I think they were attached to them. To Delta SEAL Team 6 guys. Um And those guys from meeting them, yeah, they were, you could kinda, like, tell them apart from Delta, and it's not just because they were cocky, it's just the way they carry themselves, which I guess you could say is they're a little bit cocky, but, I mean, that's I'm not saying they were like that, it's just, like, the way I saw them is that they just looked like they were kinda cocky, but they definitely were, pretty professional guys too. There were some cool guys, and they explained a lot to us. I think we had a classroom with them, and I forgot what they talked about with us. I think they talked about the canines or something. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, so I forget.
Yeah, and I think they even had mentioned to you the guys that you kind of got close to from Delta that they're like, hey, you ever thought about going to selection? Walk us through walk us through that and why ultimately you're like you didn't really want to go that route.
Well, to be in Delta, you definitely have to sacrifice a little bit more. It's you got to be at the next level, as in next physical level, not just. I mean, you're going to be in a tier one unit, so they're going to expect a lot from you. Their training cycle is a lot more intense. Um, it's regiment. I'm not saying their training cycle was super intense, but it definitely took a lot of time away from everything. Which I'm not complaining, but Delta is just at a different level where their training cycle is more high tempo, high intensity. You're training a lot. You're away from family a lot. You're gonna be a lot more. Well, you have to be at a really insane physical shape to be able to like you know be able to go through all that stuff. Because even in regiment for myself, a lot of times going, finishing up a 1 week of a training event, your body's going to be sore. So the rest of that weekend was basically just recovering from that 1 week of constantly training. And then the so I'll go into the training cycle and regiment real quick. So we have 3 phases. We have, well, P1, P2, and P3 week. P1 week is where, what is it, P1? P1 is where you're actually going out on missions. You're going out to do you know, raids and stuff like that. So either you're gonna go with whatever platoon you're attached to, like I was, or whichever platoon is turn it is, they're gonna go out and do a raid, or sometimes it could be a whole company raid. So we'll do two or three raids throughout that week. Um, and the schedule for that is usually reversed. So instead of coming in early for work, you're gonna come in like around, I say like 3 p.m. and you're getting ready for that mission. So from 3 p.m. you get all your stuff ready. You go to the armory, grab all your stuff, you grab all your commo stuff for the RTOs and for the people that are gonna have radios. You get all your kit set up and everything. You do your comics, which is check your radios, and then you come back and check your radios again the second time. Then everybody gets together. They do their, you know they plan the mission. What's it gonna be like? What we're gonna be attacking, or what our objective is. They go over all that, and then everybody gathers around. We either hop in the helicopter or we hop into the strikers. And then we do our mission, come back, and it's probably come back around like 2 3 in the morning, and then we leave work around 4 or 5 in the morning. And that's just for that 1 week. And then P2 week is, you're not doing missions anymore. You're basically going over all the things that you fucked up on, or the guys fucked up on. So for FOs, it was mostly going over the things that we could have done better communicating with the aircrafts. Like, oh, we did this call for fire, but it could have been better if we did this, or if we dropped this JDAM, but it was kind of risky. We should have, instead of dropping a JDAM, we could have used the helicopters that we had, or an AC-130. Uh, I don't know, just, little things like that. For the infantry guys, you're going over basically the just battle drills and the things you went through in the mission, things that you need to work on. For example, clearing buildings for one, or medical, or you know, basically walking into formation. Sometimes when you're out there in the middle of the night, you have a bunch of brush with you, so trying to walk in that, in a formation at nighttime with all your gear, and yeah, it could be a lot for especially for being a new guy. It could be a lot. And I know for you, for sure, like walking in the middle of the night with just your nods, it's definitely a different experience than walking during the daytime. Um, so that's just P2 week, and then P3 week is cleaning out your equipment, getting ready for that next week, which is P1 week again. So you're gonna be starting all over and then coming back down. So
Okay.
that's kind of how it is. And same
Yeah.
and the same thing goes for Delta, but the thing is, it's more. I don't know exactly how they do it, but I just know that it's going to be more high tempo, high intensity.
Yeah. No, for sure. I appreciate you, man, being very informative, man. This is like I'm excited, and I'm excited for people when I start making short clips and I start posting this video. This is gonna be very, once again, just crucial and very a lot of great tidbits in regards to that. I did want to cap off just the whole regiment section with I feel like I should bring up Sergeant Query again. I think
Oh, dude,
you
yeah,
said Seco Fire, I think it was called.
yeah.
So let's just
Eagle
cap it
fire,
off with
yeah.
Sergeant Query and just just talk about him, however much
Alright.
you remember and stuff like that.
So yeah, Sergeant Query, man. I mean, great guy overall. I think he's probably one of the leaderships that I'm definitely gonna remember for the rest of my life. He definitely made me who I am. I think, as intense as he was, and as sometimes he was pretty brutal or harsh on us. But I think it was for the best. He was definitely preparing us for, what could come. Um, so first time meeting him, he was I guess you could say he was a little cocky, but I didn't really pay too much attention to that. He just seemed like he carried himself pretty well. He was very confident, the way he walked and the way he talked. Like it was all on confidence for him. But then working out with him was a different thing. It was even more impressive because, um, for example, first time I ever working out with him was we did upper body. We went to the gym. We did a whole workout of bench press and did chest flies, all the typical chest workouts that you would think of doing. We did it with them, and then the entire time he was bench pressing 225. And then at the very end of it, he wanted to at the very end of the workout he wanted to see how many reps he could do with 225, and he did 17, which is pretty fucking impressive. He's not a big dude either. He's big, but he's not taller than me. We're about the same size, but he's definitely bulkier, probably like around 190, 195. And then after that, he was like, "Okay, we're gonna do the our sequel fire special," which I had no idea what the fuck it was at the time. But what he said, he was like, "Okay, we're gonna max our push-ups right now. You guys have 2 to 3 minutes to complete it. You obviously get no breaks. You just want to be able to max out your push-ups, which is 71 push-ups. I think I got to like, man, like 58, and I was smoked because after the chest workout, I was pretty much smoked. He was able to complete it within not even a minute. I think he did 71 push-ups in maybe just right over a minute. I think it was a minute. It was something ridiculous because I was counting too, and my friend was keeping time. So that was pretty impressive. And then we went on to running. Um, and I remember he got mad at me for something. I think I didn't show up late. I think we went on break, and then they got back. But so a lot of times you get to go on leave. It was like a week-long leave, and then when I got back, I didn't get back to the company or the unit at midnight. You have to sign back in at midnight. I think I got there because there was a delay. I got there at like 12:30 or something, and he got mad at me. So we went on a run with him, and the entire time he made me. I think we were running, if I'm correct, we ran for like 5 or 6 miles, and I think we were running just below a 7 minute mile pace. But since I was pretty good at running and I was right there with him, so he got mad at me for like me trying to keep up with him. So he'll speed up a little bit more, and then that caused my friends that were with me to fall out, which made me look bad. Oh, more than anything, they got mad at me because I was pretty good at running, and so was he. So me and him will take off running even faster. Meantime, all the other guys were falling out, except maybe one other guy, and so he'll make me go back and carry them, and so I'll be running with them, probably a couple hundred, maybe 100, maybe 200 meters. So that entire run, it's just me getting smoked. Um, and then after that, getting back, he was smoking me some more. He would like, make me hit the ropes, or go grab the biggest rock in on Noble Hill. What Noble Hill is basically a big old hill right behind the training, right behind the company. So you have your entire cough, as you call it, where all the companies are. And then you have the gym, and then right behind the gym you have the Noble Hill, which is a kind of small little area where a lot of the trainers or a lot of the rangers usually train. Um, so yeah, he'll make me go grab the biggest rock that I can find. So I'll go up to the hill, try to find the biggest rock, and I'll come back and bring it to him. And then if he doesn't like it, he'll make me do it again, or he'll make me lunge with the rock. Little things like that. What else? I mean, there's so many things. Sometimes, I mean, that guy loved rucking, and he was able to ruck like 12 miles in just under, or just around 2 hours flat. So of course, when I would ruck with him, I sucked ass. So he'll ruck, and then he'll come back towards me, and then he'll like try to push me more, and then if I wasn't able to ruck as fast as he wanted me to, he'll kill off one of the guys, and he'll make me carry them with the ruck, or or do stupid shit like that. Same with I mean, a lot of times it was just me trying to compete with him or me trying to like be as good as him, but it was nearly impossible. Same with the PowerPoints. He'll go over the whole entire PowerPoint with me in the whole class, which was like a group of like 6 dudes, and he'll ask me a bunch of questions as well. And if I didn't get a question right, that was another smoke show. So the entire time, dude, it was just him, being very, very hard on us. But it definitely made us a lot better. Made us more, I guess, more competitive because we were known as Seco Fires, and Seco Fires was very competitive towards other companies and other FO groups from other companies. And we actually held the what is it called, the best best fires competition, which is like Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie company. They all have they each have their own fires observer section or FO section. So we all compete against each other, and we always end up winning usually. So he made us pretty good with that. So
Man, freaking yeah, shots aren't queer, man. And that's crazy. He made it to the tip of the spear delta,
oh yeah. Oh,
which is
another thing real quick, he was also very he loved sports, so every single chance that we got, or like if we had a little bit of time, like a little bit of a break time, we would be playing ultimate football, ultimate frisbee, we'll be playing fucking spike ball. I don't know if you ever heard of spike ball, but and then he also make up his own fucking games. Like we had this game called tape ball, which is so weird, but we'll be in the cage. The cage is where all of our lockers are. It's very tiny. It's like a room size, like a king size room maybe, or a master bedroom. So it was big, but it wasn't like you know fitting like 6 to 8 dudes. It wasn't that big, but he would have this a tape and a ball, and you're just throwing it across each other. You get in the big old circle, you're throwing it towards each other, and you have to be able to catch it. And basically, what he was trying to teach us was multitasking. Um, that's basically the whole gist of that game. But yeah, he was pretty good at that, and it was just there was a lot of shit. That was one of the things, but he made up a lot of stuff, made up games, made up rules, made up a lot of stuff.
yeah. But yeah, man, that woo gems on gems, man. Ranger Regiment right there, man. So just these last two topics. So let's go into Ranger School. Let's try to get into
Yeah,
what we can in regards to Ranger School. Um, so yeah, so I wanted to kind of give the floor more to you for this one, and these questions are
yeah,
more just so that way you can. I know a lot of people block out Ranger School or it's just a blur, like Core
oh
Range
no.
was a blur for you and stuff like that. So let's just start with how your unit determined when you got. I know you had mentioned in like somewhere in the beginning that it's PT oriented. You got to be a PT stud, just all these other different things. So how exactly were you able to get a Ranger School slot?
So my leadership actually decided if we were ready to go or not. I didn't learn that till afterwards, but the only reason I'm saying that is because every single time I would do a PT test, I was definitely really good with the PT. That was, if anything, that was my bread and butter, was me being very good at PT. Um, and not just being able to do 70 something push-ups. I'm talking about every single time I do push-ups, it was like 80 something push-ups up to 90. That's when I got a lot stronger. Being with Sir Curry, he made me a lot stronger. Um, Also because he was able to do over 100 push-ups, over 100 sit-ups every single time, and I was fighting for that. I can never accomplish it, but every single time I'll do 80 something push-ups, 80 something sit-ups, do a 30 to 33 minute 5 mile, and do like 15 to 20 chin-ups. So I was pretty good with PT. But yeah, overall, you're competing against other guys who are also trying to get a Ranger School slot. It's probably a group of 30 to 50 dudes. Um, and they're all, they meet up at the in the turf area. And the first event is doing the PT test. Um, so you do the PT test at the gym, in the little turf area, and After that, then you do your push-up, sit-ups, and then you do your run, come back, and then you do your chin-ups. And whoever got a good score, whoever maxed it, then those guys are able to go on to the next phase, which is the 12-mile ruck. And so next morning you're doing prepping for the 12-mile ruck. So you get there probably around 5 in the morning. You probably get released around 5:30. And then you do it's the same route every single time, but you go all the way out East Gate, keep going, go 6 miles to your turnaround point. And for me, I was in a great rucker, so I would get around 2:35 to 40, like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Um, they require you guys to go at least 2 hours and 45 minutes. If you don't get 2 hours and 45 minutes, if you go above that, I mean your leadership is gonna find out. So that was another smoke stash. Even though you did the rug, you completed it like for a standard in the army. I think you have to do what 12 miles in 3 hours, right? If
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
mistaken.
2 hours and 30 minutes, I think. Maybe 3 hours, but
No,
we'll
it's
just go
three
with three
hours.
hours though. Yeah.
It's definitely 3 hours.
Yeah.
But for that's for like overall like the standard for the army.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regiment
Yeah.
is like 245, but man, I was definitely I struggled a lot with wrecking. So I would get somewhere between like 230 and 250. Right, that was like my no matter how good I felt or how bad I felt, that's around the time I would usually get. And then for the third phase was LANF, so you have to be able to pass the LANF course, and that was I think it was a little bit harder than the star course, just because a lot of the roads on the map weren't actually there, so it would get you really confused when you're out there. So what determines you going through to get a ranger slot? It's you either have to be basically your leadership wanting you to go, and if you do really go on your pizza test, you're gonna go. For me, it was mostly yeah, you have to be really good physically, but you also have to be able to be good at your job, be able to if you're able to do a pretty good job at, a forward observer, of course, but be able to like um take on a leadership role at that very time at that time, then yeah, they're gonna want you to go because now you're ready to take on that next step into becoming a team leader as an FO. Even though we don't have team leaders, it's more like it's somewhat like a team leader. It's very different as a forward observer, because we don't have the same structure as we do as the infantry does, where you have your privates, your team leaders, your squad leaders. In regiment, you got your JTAC, and then 2 or 3 leaderships, and then all the other privates that are there that are also FOs trying to compete for that. So yeah, it definitely took a while for me as well as my other friends that were there as an FOs to get a ranger slot, but that was pretty much what it consists of.
And in terms of how, so you finally get the slot. In terms of how Ranger School is broken down by phases for army guys, or even civilians who let's just say may watch this. How is Ranger School broken up in terms of phases?
So the phases is considered of 3 phases. You have the Jarvie phase, which is out in Georgia in Fort Benning, Georgia. Um, and then you have Mountain phase, which is northern part of Georgia. I can't remember exactly where, but it's in the mountain region of Georgia. And then you have Florida phase, which is also called the swamps. And that's fuck, I forget. Oh, I forget what the base is called. It's a camp, but it's out of Florida, and it's very swampy for sure. It's very sandy too. So if you don't like sand, that's gonna be a whole challenge of its own because you're gonna be chafing a lot. Um, but yeah, those are the 3 phases. I think for me was the toughest phase was mountain phase, and that's only because when you're climbing those mountains, even though they're not like Colorado mountains or the Rockies or whatever, you're climbing very very steep hills, and you're carrying your ruck, which is probably around 60 to 70 pounds, plus whatever weapon you have, and pray to God you don't have the 240 or the 249 that day. But yeah, a lot of the times you're climbing up very, very steep hills, and it's not like you're doing the what's it called, the zigzags, or the when you're climbing up a trail. It's not the what is it called, switchbacks. I forgot what they're called, but a lot of times when you're climbing those mountains, it's just dead on uphill. So it was very tough, and it was also very cold that I went through the winter time. And I remember first day of the of mountains, or first day of being out in the field. We climbed up the mountain. It was raining for the most part, and then once we got to the top of the mountain, it started snowing on us. So we're already very wet, and then it started snowing on us, and then we had to go into the mission, and I think we were doing a raid that night, um, and we had a low crawl into our position, and that was brutal, for sure. But yeah, man, that's pretty much
Uh,
what it is. I know I go into a lot, but yeah,
no, that's perfect. That's perfect. I just want to make sure before I ask my next question, or maybe put input, that you've said everything you want to say. The last thing I want to do
yeah.
is just interrupt, and then it's like you've had something great that you had to say. So no, that you're doing good with all that. But you hear a lot of banter about casually screwing guys over, and whatnot. Can you kind of see where that's coming from, or do you feel that's more of lack of taking ownership?
So no, I definitely. It's kind of hard to say because I definitely had my fair share of, getting screwed over. For example, for Darby phase. So be after you do your whole obstacle course, your PT test, your Toma Rook, all that, then you actually start your Darby phase. But I forget what the first part is called, but because you do your water obstacle course, your I forget what the other obstacle courses are. But yeah, for Darby phase, I think it's 3 days, 3 days on, 1 day off, and then 3 days on again. So you're doing your field time. You do the whole training, which is, you go through all the battle drill one, battle drill two, whatever, all these battle drills, and then you actually go into your field day where you actually have to go and do objectives. And you're either gonna get a team leader position, or you're gonna get your squad leader position. Because Darby phase, you're doing mostly squad missions. Mountains in Florida, you're gonna do your platoon size missions. Um, but for Darby, I remember I got the leadership position, alpha team leader, and I thought I did pretty great. It was two times. So I got three looks total in Darby. What looks are is basically, you know, you get a leadership position, and then you're gonna conduct that mission. And what a look is basically the cadre grading you as you go. And I thought for the first two, I thought I did pretty good. If anything, it was damn near perfect, because I asked the cadre if I did anything wrong, and they really didn't have anything to say to me. Um, but when they do the AAR, the after action report, um, they said nothing but good things to me. But I found out later on that the first two looks that I got versus the last one, which is the last one is the one that I fucked up on. The first two I actually didn't get a go, and what a go means is you either if you get a go, you're gonna go on to the next phase. Um, but for me, I was thinking, okay, I definitely got two goes on the first one, and for the third one, I definitely got a no go because I fucked up on something. I forgot. I think I forgot to set up a claymore. I was a Bravo team leader, and I forgot to set up a claymore while they were doing their reconnaissance mission. Um, so yeah, I definitely fucked that one up. I mean, that was definitely on me. And so I thought, okay, I definitely got two no goes, and then I got to go. Then after they tell you if you are gonna go to mountains, or if you're gonna get recycled into Darby again. I got told that the first two looks I got no goes, and the last look that I fucked up on, actually I gotta go. So yeah, I definitely do that. I definitely do feel like they do screw you over sometimes into like thinking that you passed, when in reality you didn't. So yeah, they definitely kind of do fuck with you.
Yeah, what in your eyes, like specifically you, because it could be a combination of different things for different people, but what made Ranger School so hard? Was it sleep deprivation? Was it lack of proper food? What to you made Ranger School so tough?
Um, Probably it wasn't really. Ranger school is not, it's not hard. It's not physically hard. It's physically doable. Everything you do is physically doable. It's kind of like basic training but on steroids. Um, but for the most part, I think it's just more of a mental. It's definitely draining you mentally because a lot of the times, you're focusing on getting your go, getting that leadership position, and then being able to perform with a bunch of other guys are super exhausted. They're all sleep deprived. You are as well, but they're also, food deprived because you're eating once in the morning, once at night,
Yeah,
and you're eating MREs the entire time. Except when you're, that's only when you're in the field. When you're training, you're actually eating some good food. But when you're in the field, you're eating one MRE whenever you wake up, like around 6 in the morning. It could be 5 in the morning. Um, or it could be even be 4 in the morning. Um, and then when you go to sleep, it's probably going to be around, if you're lucky, 1 in the morning. It could be all the way up to 3 in the morning. So sometimes you're gonna be shit out of luck, and you're only gonna get 10 minutes of sleep. So it's a shit show. And I actually had that a couple times where you only get 10 minutes of sleep, so it sucks. So but for the most part, is being able to perform pretty good in the leadership role and be able to motivate your guys into doing what you want them to do. That way you're able to get that go and be able to go to the next phase, which is, to me, that was probably the hardest thing. It wasn't, rucking. It wasn't, going up the mountains. I mean, even though that was physically tough, but for the main thing was being able to motivate your guys into doing whatever you want them to do and be able to perform at a good level to where you're going to be able to pass and get your go and go on to the next phase.
yeah, and this may or may not be a hard question to
Yeah,
ask
go.
or answer, but it's worth to ask nonetheless. What to you once again makes a good platoon sergeant, a good platoon leader, and a good squad leader?
So that's a
I
good
don't
one.
know if yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I mean, they all have their different ways of being good because a platoon sergeant is different from a squad leader, from a team leader, from all that, and from a platoon leader. I guess accountability for a platoon sergeant, that's definitely the biggest thing, is being really good with having accountability of your guys, because
Yeah.
that's the whole role of a platoon sergeant, is being able to take care of your guys and yeah, have accountability. Which is what I just said. Platoon leader is different. You have to be able to plan accordingly, be able to um yeah, plan, describe what your plan is, um, as well as be able to, once you're out there doing a mission, knowing what the next step is going to be. I think the platoon leader in Ranger School is definitely the hardest thing. Um, just because you have to, if you could do a platoon leader's job really well, you're gonna be really good at doing every other job really easily. Um, and yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it, is as a platoon leader. For a squad leader, you have to be, on your team leaders, making sure that your team leaders are doing what their fucking job is. If you're a micromanager, and a lot of people don't like that, but a lot of the times you have to be like that, just because they're so tired that nobody's going to be really listening to you, especially if you're some guy that, let's say you're gonna get with a really shitty group that they don't really care about you. Um, then yeah, you're gonna you have to be very micromanage your whole entire squad, which is shitty to do, but if you want to get that go, you're gonna have to do it. But if you're like that all the time, they're definitely not gonna respect you. So it's a pro and a con into doing something like that. Um, so overall, I think being in a good being a good leader is more likely just being able to take care of your guys and, you know, be honest with them. I mean, you know for a fact they're gonna be tired. You know that they're gonna be, I mean, hungry. They're gonna be weaker. They're definitely. I'm not saying that everyone's gonna be weak, but you know you're gonna go through really tough situations where you're gonna have to know your guys who's gonna be able to carry a 240, who's gonna be able to carry all the 249, who's gonna be able to do this job accordingly. Um, knowing the weaknesses in all your team members. So I think that goes a long way. But yeah, accountability of your guys is another thing. I mean, to put that into a short answer, there really isn't. There's a lot of things that go into making a good leader, but um, I guess just yeah, I don't think there's anything that could explain it
Yeah,
pretty well.
most definitely. And I think learning how to properly delegate tasks to your men, women, how to brief properly, knowing when to micromanage, knowing when not to micromanage, how to relate, how to coach. And another thing I wanted to add too, you know what I mean, touching on, putting out for others, which is I think it's a topic that I've brought up with Sergeant Braxton, with Jalen, maybe even Aaron, but in my the episodes that I've recorded, obviously. But um, yeah, in regards to getting your goal, although you let's say you're doing it, you may have got your goal on a patrol. Um, but if you don't put out for your battle buddy, they're not going to get their goal, which
Oh
becomes
yeah,
selfish. You know what I mean? So um just like you want to get your goal and you want them to put out for you, do the same, man. And I was speaking like out
absolutely.
loud. And I'm not saying you, but like I think that's crucial. You know what I mean? Don't be selfish.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. That's the first phase when they told me that I gotta go. Even though, like for example, the first two looks that I got,
yeah.
how they described it is that I did get to go and that I was gonna go to mountains. But then I got the third look, and that's the one that I actually got to go. The first two was just bullshit. Um, so when I got that, when I went through that, it kind of it made me perform a lot better throughout mountains in Florida because even though they told me that I got to go or I did well, I didn't really take that into I didn't took whatever they said into like thinking that, oh, I did get my go, I don't have to try anymore. That's not the reality. You still have to try it no matter what. Because you also have to go through peers, and well, peer is basically what it is all your guys that get together, they kind of grade each other on like who they want to keep, who's their best performer, who's their worst performer, whoever performed the worst, or whoever they didn't like the best. A lot of times those guys get recycled. So even though you got your go and you got, you know, you peered low, then you're probably gonna get recycled, no matter how good you did on the patrols.
Yeah, most definitely. And um I think we're gonna go ahead and cap off Ranger School with just any possible more advice you can give to future candidates, whether soft or regular, whatever the case may be, whether that's through physical advice, mental advice, mentality, what kind of mentality you should have, physical as far as advice and hey, you need to rock a lot, you need to do more push-ups, or even material study like oh, battle drills. Like I noticed when I went to Ranger School, they were hammering me on this battle drill. Look out for that. So just my question is in regards to that, if there's any last bit of advice you want to give to future candidates or candidates that are about to go or are in it right now.
Yeah, actually, of course, learning your battle drills. You don't have to go too much into depth and memorizing everything. I mean, it would be helpful, absolutely. Um, but learning that as well as learning your nine line, like off the top of your head, because a lot of times
Yeah.
that helped a lot. Me being an FO in regiment, you have to know that by memory, so I was able to just say it off the top of my head when people were struggling to write it down at night. So I'll take care of that the entire time. I was able to help them out with that. Um, something that I wasn't ready for was doing the op boards. Op boards and the fragos and all that stuff. That's something that I didn't really get to do in regiment as well as ranger school, luckily, because I probably would have sucked at it. So, but knowing that a little bit would definitely go a long ways. But overall, I think the most important thing, um, besides all that, is knowing how to pack your ruck. I think that goes a long way because I've had some dudes that would pack their rugs, but they wouldn't distribute their weight properly. So, it's that must have been hell for them having to carry a rug that was really heavy on their left shoulder, but not on the right shoulder, or very heavy all the way at the bottom, which is kind of like a no go kind of thing. You can't. You have to learn how to properly pack your rug as well as um, being able to make up conversations and be friends with the guys that are going to be with you, because at the end of the day those are going to be your teammates, whether you're going to go straight through ranger school or you're going to get recycled. If you can't get along with some of the guys there, then chances are you're not going to do so well.
Yeah. Well, it's safe to say, man, that you know, through your 5 years in regiment and experience at Ranger School, man, you had a very fulfilling and also hectic
Oh my God.
experience. So, just my last thing, of course, is going to be what ultimately led you to get out. Not extend maybe even as low as another year in regiment. Um, so just ultimately, what led you to get out?
Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they were pushing me to like keep on going to stay in another year. They were promising, oh, you could become a JTAC in the next year or two. Um, but I mean, knowing all the stress that those guys go through, um, knowing all the things that I had to endure again, just I mean, my body was pretty much beat to shit after Ranger School. My knees are pretty fucked up. My lower back. I mean, even though I already had lower back problems even during airborne school, and hip problems from rucking all the time. Because I would have to do rucks a lot of the times just to get a ranger slot, ranger school slot. So I had to go through all that. So after going through ranger school, recovering was the biggest step, and it literally took possibly even to this day. I still feel like there are some things that I could recover from. But I'm not 100% fully recovered from ranger school, and that's from me going through ranger school in 2021. That was a couple years ago, and I still feel like I need a. I'm not 100% yet. So yeah, definitely that was one of the things when I got back to Ranger Regiment and trying to compete with some of the younger guys and being able to, you know, do physical things that I couldn't do the same way I used to. I wasn't able to max my push-ups as good as I used to. I was able to max them, but I wasn't able to like hit 80 push-ups like I used to do. I wasn't able to do same with sit-ups, same with the run time. Run time actually went up. Even to this day, I probably can't even pass a 5 mile run. But that's just from my knees and my ankles and stuff like that. So it definitely had a big toll on my body. Yeah, if I wish I could be, even to this day, I'm still trying to go hit the gym more and try to get back into shape that I used to. But that was tough, as well as I pretty much already had a plan either way. I had a plan of finishing off my contract, then coming back and starting a family, getting a job, and of course starting a family. I think that's for me that's more important. Um, the army, the war is not everything. War is actually pretty shitty if you're actually out there. It's even though it's a good time with the guys, but it's not everything. It's not how the movies describe it. Um, what else? I mean, I also wanted to just start a job, because a lot of things that people don't realize is, you could be in the military for 10 years, 15 years, even 20 years, but when you get out and start a civilian job, you're basically starting off from square one. So they don't people in the civilian world, they're not going to care whether you come from special operations. They're not going to care that you're a Green Beret, Ranger, Delta, whatever. They're not going to give a fuck. So, and that's something that you have to realize is, they don't give a shit. But what they do give a shit is, how good you perform at your new job, which is the civilian job that you get. So yeah, I think for the most part is being able to start over at a very young age versus starting over again at a very old age. Like, I'm not saying 35 or 38 is old, but I don't want to start from square one at that age.
Yeah,
So
big time, man. And I'm glad you talked about that too. You know what I mean? Because just like you said, the movies are one thing, real life's another thing. Games are one thing, real life is another thing. Um, and it's good for guys to hear that, even ones that hopefully stumble upon this and they're like, man, I really want to go to regiment or whatever soft unit, but they're kind of on the fence. And be aware of these realities. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You're going to be away from family. You're going to have everlasting injuries wherever the injuries may be. You may suffer loss. Being friends, you may lose friends, and that's very hard to cope with. You may struggle to get accustomed to civilian life, and next thing you know, you're suicidal. There's a ton of things that come with this life. Um, so keep that in mind whenever you're making the decision to sign the contract or volunteer for something like this, and that it's no joke. Obviously it's a lot of fun. You learn a lot of cool things, you experience a lot of cool things with guys, but um yeah, you just ultimately got to answer that question yourself. Can you handle the bad as well, so, because everyone can handle the good, but can you handle the
oh
bad
yeah,
that comes with it, all the baggage that comes with it that Gonzo just kind of described in his own way, his baggage that he has to deal with. But that
yeah. I
concludes the
mean,
regiment. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I don't know if you had a
yeah, no,
point.
no. For the most part, I just don't want to. I don't want to unmotivate someone that wants to go through it. I think if you're trying to just do a contract or two or whatever, I think that's a great start into getting into the operation world, or special operations world. Ranger Regiment, I think, is definitely the best place to be as a starter. You definitely learn a lot, as well as I think it prepares you to not only your, just the military life, but the civilian life as well. I think they, um, uh, uh, coming out of the military, I feel more confident than I was before. Back then I wasn't able to, talk to a, a classroom full of guys, being able to present a PowerPoint. Now, like, to me, that's pretty easy to me. But back then, that was pretty tough for me. And overall, I think it made me a better person. So if for the people that do want to go into, just military, or even better, going to special operations, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, not everything in the military is just special operations. You got other cool jobs as well. You could become a pilot, you could do other cool stuff, become a medic, a crew chief, whatever, other jobs available, even military intelligence that, will set you up for success for, the civilian life. I think a lot of people don't realize the opportunities that the military gives you, as well as like the benefits that comes with it. Is not just, you're not everything in the military is going to be physically tough. A lot of it is, you know for example, military intelligence, or things that like require a lot of thinking, you know a lot of good benefits that will help you out in your civilian job, or life. There's a lot of good benefits that come with it, not just paying for your school, but as well as me, preparing you to be very confident for the next step in life.
Yeah, most definitely. And I only brought that whole conversation about, hey, realize the baggage, because
Oh yeah,
if you have a dream and if you really believe in it, regardless of everything I'm telling you, and let's just use this example as far as soft, specifically Ranger Regiment. If you really want to be a ranger and I'm telling you all these different things, like, oh man, like look at all these different stories from rangers who may have lost their limbs, lost their legs, suicidal, just all these different characteristics, and you could still look me in the eye and say, yeah, you're right, Ryan, but something about this that I just have an edge to go do it. Then more power to you, and that's probably less of a reason for you to quit. But if you don't kind of come to terms with most of that stuff, and then you go to selection, guess what? It's going to be easier for you to quit on that ruck. It's going to be easier for you to quit on that run, whatever the case may be. and then it's just total failure. So that's kind of why I wanted to touch on that. But finally, man, I mean, tons of gems, man. So
Yeah.
we're gonna cap it off finally. Um, with your goal and ambition to become a helicopter pilot, and that just simply can be boiled down to why a helicopter pilot
Oh
and how
yeah.
exactly you plan to achieve becoming a helicopter pilot.
Well, yeah, I guess for the first part, I had no idea what I had in mind coming out of the military. My brother when my brother helped me out into getting a job, basically just working with them. Because as soon as I got out of the military, I kind of struggled a little bit with finding a job, which is fine. A lot of people are gonna struggle with finding a job.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of the military taught me was very, you have to do this, this, and that, fast pace, and whatever you say you're gonna do it, and it's gonna take a month or two. But no, for me getting an actual job, it took me about like 4 months. So it's longer than I expected, of course. But still, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I had to find a job, and I had to find a good job, something that I could stay there for, you know, as long as I could, even if it's not the job that I, primarily didn't want to do, but something that was going to help me long term. But I worked with my brother as a electrician, so I did a little bit of that. So I thought it was a pretty good skill to learn. Um, did a lot of commercial and residential, and he definitely helped me out a lot, thank God. And then I got another job with CPS Energy, which is basically CPS Energy, for the guys that don't know, is a electric company that powers San Antonio and as well as other counties nearby. So I do a lot of the utility work for them, or with them. And then, but what made me want to do helicopter pilot was actually, me dropping off my girlfriend at the hospital, and then seeing that helicopter come in. And just, I mean, for the first part, me as an FO, and just being in the military in general, I love helicopters. I love the way they sound, how mean they sound, especially a Chinook helicopter, the CH-47. The way they sound so freaking mean, and
The
I
deja
don't know,
vu.
just being on them too. It was always a cool time. Um, because you get to be with some of the best pilots in the world, which is 160th Night Stalkers. Those guys are some of the most insane pilots I've ever seen, and been on. So yeah, dropping off my girlfriend one time, and then seeing the helicopter, that EMS helicopter coming in very fast and dropping someone in. I just saw it and I'm like, wow, that looks so cool. And then my girlfriend was like, why don't you become a helicopter pilot and become an EMS pilot? And I'm like, well, I never really thought about it. I always loved them, but I just never, realized that that would be achievable for me. And then did a little bit of research on it, and then I got to do my discovery flight, which is actually get to fly a helicopter with an instructor, of course, not by myself, but doing that was, I mean, it was insane. I thought it was, for me, flying, even though I wasn't actually flying a helicopter, I was able to take over the cyclic, which is basically the joystick they have on the helicopter. You have three controls. You have the cyclic, collective, and the pedals. Um, but doing that alone was, I think for me, was more insane than jumping out of helicopters or planes or getting into the most insane shit that I've gone through in regiment. Um, that was more exciting, and it just felt like freeing for me, being able to be at that sort of high altitude and be able to see the best views in the world. I mean, from a helicopter, I think it was pretty cool. I think um, that definitely was one of my callings, even though I didn't realize it yet. At the time, now I started to realize that that's definitely something that I would be more attracted to, as far as like it has adrenaline on it. It also has some cool views, and it's definitely a job that's not typically seen as normal, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome, man. And without a doubt, I know for sure you can achieve that. You have the mindset, and so does anyone and everyone has the ability to achieve what they want to achieve, just as long as you persevere, you avoid the negativity, and if of course you get clear on the game plan of how to get there. You know, once
Oh
you
yeah.
once you can get clear on your why, everything else becomes easy. Now it's, how do I get there? Okay, is it courses? Is it networking? Whatever the case may be. Is it a degree? Whatever the case may be. So that's very awesome, man. But that concludes episode 2. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. Um, and also, if you haven't watched episode 1, I know it was on YouTube and on the audio platforms. Please watch that. It has some good insight as well. Get to know a little bit more about Gonzo. But if you are an aspiring Ranger, or Ranger qualified, I hope this helped you. If you know someone who wants to attend RASP or is about to go to regiment, um, or again wants to go to Ranger school, please share with them. Like I said, that's the point of these episodes, is to provide insight or guidance. Should somebody want to walk the same footsteps as someone else that I bring on. But other than that, that's it, guys, and see you next time.